Check this out. It's your boy Bobby Outlaw, real name, no gimmicks. And I'm Bobby O. I'm a brand strategist. And right now, with the help, not right now, but like with the help of Whitney, will help me find some clarity in what I want to do. I do. Whitney, what am I trying to say? You don't know.
I don't know.
But at the end of the day, I'm a brand strategist. And I guess like creative branding is what I do. But as me narrowing my focus on, I think what I'm gonna say, or what I'm trying to say, is gonna be a part of the topic today, as far as like you helping me find my target audience. So I think that's why I got a little tongue twisted. But yeah, so yeah.
So everybody who's joining us, this is our second live together. I think it's our second live together.
Second official.
Yeah, second official live together. Last time we talked about the importance of a rollout, why you need a rollout, what it is. We gave some examples. Tonight we are talking about how to find your target audience. When I work with clients, figuring out who their target audience is, along with setting goals, is the first thing that I make sure we get out the way, because you can't have a content or a marketing strategy if you don't know who you're speaking to, who's interested in what you got going on, what platforms are they on. So we are going to get right into it. Your target audience is basically, in a nutshell, the people who care about you and what you got going on. If you are selling goose down coats for the wintertime, your target audience is not people in Hawaii, for example.
Right.
It's not even people in California. So you wouldn't even spend any time making content for people that speaks to people in California, because you have a product that we wouldn't care about. So it's important to know who your target audience is, so that you know how to make content for them. If you're speaking to everybody, you're speaking to nobody. Back in the day, oh gosh, that sounds so old to say, but when people heavily relied on commercials for marketing, they would make commercials, content that spoke to everybody, because, well, they would also, so let's say if it was cleaning supplies, right? They might put those commercials during the day when the stay-at-home moms are home to watch them, because those are the women, were stereotypically the people who were making those household purchase decisions. So you wouldn't have a cleaning supply commercial on a Friday night when the whole family is sitting down watching TV, right? So now, in the age of social media, we want to make sure that we're attracting people who actually care about what we have going on to us, and that we're speaking their language, that we are using the platforms that they're on. Not even target audience doesn't even necessarily have to be gender or age or location based. It could be what their interests are, what their needs are. If you have, let's say, I don't know, if you're a spiritualist, right? Your target audience can be anywhere in the world. Well, actually, I'll say if you're shipping products, your target audience would be people who are within the region that you can ship your products to. But your target audience might have nothing to do with what people look like, where they're located. Your target audience would have to do with their beliefs. So you wouldn't care about the people who are like, oh, I don't believe in that, lighting candles and crystal stuff. Well, that's cool, because those aren't your target audience anyways. You just want to make content that's going to make the people who actually care about what you have going on, that it speaks to them and it resonates with them. So that's what your target audience is. I hope that explains it. I don't know, Bobby, if you have anything you want to add to it.
No, it sounds perfect, and it leads right into what I'm going to be talking about, is why your target audience is important. It's important for you as a business. It's important for your service or product. It's important for you if you're an entertainer or influencer, because you want to know who you're talking to and how to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a lot of notes when I was diving and doing research for this. So I'm going off of the notes that I wrote, right? So without an audience, your business is pretty much irrelevant, right? Why? Because you won't be able to effectively sell a product or service as a business owner if you don't know who you're selling to, right? Which was what Whitney was talking about. Is like, if you what'd you say, if you make goose coats, what was you saying?
If you make them heavy goose down, like people on the East Coast, what I'm talking about, them goose down heavy coats that you wear in the snow, like people on the West Coast,
Don't
we
need it.
don't even know what it are. Don't even know what
You're,
they are.
so it wouldn't make any sense for somebody that's making goose coats, you know what I'm saying, the puffy jackets, you feel me? I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Um, for people that live in 90-degree weather. But
Right.
you would only know that if you knew who you were targeting, if you knew your audience, right? Um, it also, like, the importance of the audience, what your audience does, it reduces the cost and increases the effectiveness of your marketing campaign and future ads that you'll run, right?
I want to add something to that really quick too. And when you
Okay.
say it reduces your costs, remember time is money and time is the most valuable thing that we have. So in reducing your cost, it's also reducing the amount of time that you have to spend to figure out who you're selling to, or rather reduces the amount of time that if you're making a bunch of content and you're making it aimed at the wrong people who aren't going to buy your products or your services or listen to your music. Like if you're a female artist who is rapping about these tricking ass dudes, you probably want to target the women who are going to actually listen to that instead of making content that's going to target the men who are not going to go stream that. So in saving yourself time, you're saving yourself money as well.
100%. And the question that you guys should ask yourself is, how are you going to run ads if you don't know your target, right? How do you fill that filter out? How do you know the demographic? How do you know the geographics? How do you know how they think? You don't know, so you're blindly running ads, hoping that it's gonna, whatever you're selling, whatever your whatever visual you have is gonna catch somebody. The other question is, how are you going, that was, for how you're gonna, run an ad if you don't know who you're gonna target. The other thing is, how are you going to tell a story through your marketing campaign if you don't know who you're telling it to? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So you need to know who you're talking to in order to run ads effectively and set up a marketing campaign, right? An effective marketing campaign. Every brand, right? Every brand, whether you're a business, whether you're a music artist, whatever you are, like if you have a brand, your personal brand, every brand solves the problem of a want or a need, right? Example, Listerine solves the want for fresh breath, right? Trojan condoms solves the want for safety against unplanned pregnancies or the spread of STDs. And then dentists provide the need for dental hygiene by preventing cavities and tooth loss. So
Right.
ask yourself these other two questions, right? What problem are you solving,
Mm-hmm.
and who has the problem?
Right.
Once you answer those questions, what problem are you solving and who has the problem, then you can figure out who's I'm sorry, once you figure out those two people or whatever, right? The problem that you're solving and then the person that has the problem, now you can study their behaviors, study their attitudes, their opinions, and their preferences, and then
Right.
now you can finally narrow down who your target audience is.
Right. So I want to give an example too of like target audience examples for like music artists, right? So let's say La Russell. I always bring up La Russell. He's a great case study for like
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
But for La Russell, let's just say if you're a music artist who all of your music is talking about being rich and this and this and that, and like I got all this money or just whatever, then a pay what you want model, I don't know, like I feel like what he's doing with the pay what you want model works because he's so authentic, where that really could maybe work for anybody, but I just feel like somebody whose whole image is based off materials might not be they might not want to do a ticket-based system where people are able to pay $5, right? Because they set their value high. Like I feel like a lot of LaRussell's marketing tactics are in line with his I don't want to say his image as if it's a front, because that's really who he is, but that's the thing, is he's so authentic. So his ability to make content anywhere he is speaks to people who care about authenticity. So before you're even running ads on anything, like, you really shouldn't be running ads until you know the piece of content is even going to work organically. If you're running ads on trash content, it doesn't matter how many people who see it, it's not going to get you any results. That's going to be the real waste of money. So even before you start running ads, like, you do need to know who you're targeting. But a lot of times with ads, like, they're so sophisticated that if you put the right amount of money into it, they will figure out who to show your content to, just based on the content itself. But you need to make content that is going to, hey Jayla, and what's up Mark, I didn't get to say hi to you. You need to make content that is going to be interesting to the people who care about what you have going on. So like I was saying, like with the example of LaRussell, his audience obviously cares and values authenticity. So him doing content that's in his garage or in his backyard, that content is going to speak to people. People are going to appreciate the authenticity of the location and the lack of aesthetic of his content, because it's in line with the values of being real, right? Where
Right.
somebody whose music is not based on being authentic and real probably can't get away. I mean, they could do it. I always say work with what you got. But if your whole image is built off being materialistic, or, you know, like you have like a Future sound, like the rapper Future, doing some content in your backyard might not work as well. I'll say it won't convert as well. But you want to make sure that you're making content that's speaking to, like, if your audience, if you're selling a product or a service that is targeted towards women, your branding colors might be more pink, pastel, or whatever. We're being stereotypical now, but you know that when you choose brand colors that are going to be like pinks or whatever, you're kind of already writing off men who might be interested in your content. For example, certain fonts might speak to women more than men. Certain fonts are more masculine than feminine, for example. The way that if you're sending an email campaign, or the way that you write your captions, if your target audience is women, you might write your emails like, hey girl, hey bestie, something like that. But if you know that you're primarily speaking to men, or if your target audience is not gender specific, you might not want to write your caption saying, hey girl, right? So before we even get to ads, it has to do with your message, how you're wording your message, your content setting, things like that. So that's why it's really important to know who your target audience is, because you can spend all this time editing really great, high produced, high quality content that is worded wrong, that the message is wrong.
So let's talk about a little bit, so people know, like, common mistakes that are made when trying to find their target audience, or identifying what their target audience is. And I think the one that you probably heard, I'm sure, because you are an expert at this, and I've heard time to time, is that people saying that their product service is for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's just too broad. For example, like, I'm gonna go to two extremes. One being luxury, one being like an inexpensive brand. Gucci doesn't focus on everybody. They focus on people that can afford that lifestyle look and the lifestyle brand that Gucci gives out. The 99-cent store, on the other hand, is not trying to appeal to the affluent, the rich individuals. They're appealing to people that are looking for a bargain. So it doesn't matter, you know, if you're looking for somebody, if you're going for the luxurious lifestyle, or you're looking for the audience that has a lot of money to spend, Or if your audience is people that are bargain shoppers that want to save their money, but you need to identify with who that target audience is instead of just coming out and saying, well, everybody, as an artist, I hear a lot like everybody should feel my music. And I
Right.
think, Whitney, you can
Well,
speak.
yeah, so I want to add to that too, because so I will just say, like, just to play devil's advocate, to a certain extent, some things are for everybody, but people are multifaceted people. We all have different sides of us. The person who wears Gucci might also appreciate the 99-cent store. So, and like the same way, like the person who likes the Russell's music might also like the super, like trap, all that, talking about getting high type of music. But you have to speak to that side of a person. So you, like, for example, I had a client who he has a business detailing cars, right? Now, anybody who has a car could use detail, right? But the way that he's going to like make his content speak to certain people is going to, like, he can make multiple pieces of content that speak to people differently. So you have like the single mom whose kids are trash in her back seat, and she doesn't have time to go to a car wash or whatever. So in that case, he might make some content that's speaking to the moms and their needs and how convenient it is that he can come clean that up because she doesn't have time to go do it. Then you're going to have the entrepreneurs. So for the single mom, like, she might not have like a super big budget, but it's worth it to her, like the what she gets out of it and the convenience and the peace of mind, right? Then you might have the entrepreneur who doesn't have time. It's kind of solving the same problem, but how you're presenting it is going to be different. And so this is a tactic that you can use when your audience is everybody. Well, in this case, it would be anybody with a car, but you can still speak to different people differently. I would say, like, with the 99-cent store, for example, right? Almost everybody loves a good bargain. And so in that, you're not speaking to a type of person. You're not speaking to a certain age or a certain race or a certain location. You're speaking to people who love a good bargain, whether they need to save the money or they enjoy saving the money. You just want to make sure that you're getting across the message that this is a good deal. Because I think all different types of people enjoy good deals. But that's where you have to know, the 99-cent store would know our target audience, regardless of what they look like or how much money they have or where they're located. Our target audience are people who like a good deal. And so for the people who say, everybody should feel my music, okay, cool. So we're all in different types of moods though, right? So you have to let people know everybody will feel my music if when you're in the mood for something uplifting, you want something that's going to start your day, you're going to put this on. You're going to play my music. Or I make music for the ride home from the club. Or I make music that you play in the club. Or I make music that you could play in the car with your kids. One person might listen to all those different types of music, but you still have to let people know what part of them are you speaking to. Because like, your target audience can be lots of different types of people, but we still have multiple aspects within ourselves. You still have to let them know, like, what part of them are you speaking to?
I agree. So now, as far as like the common mistakes, running ads, right? I have an individual I work with, and not 100% clear on the audience that he's targeting. And I'm just like, should an individual that isn't clear on their target audience still run ads? Or should they really dissect who their target audience is before they start running ads?
Before running ads, I would ask, what is the goal? And why are you running ads? Because like I said, if you have trash content, running ads on trash content's not going to convert to anything. That's going to be a waste of money. So if you're running ads because you're not getting any engagement, you maybe shouldn't be running ads. If you're running ads because you're getting engagement and you want to reach more people, that's different. If you're running ads because you're running a promotion on something that has a limited amount of time, say you're selling tickets to a show and you trying to reach as many people as you can before this show date, that's a good reason to run ads. If you're running ads because you're having a sale, it's Black Friday, you just did a launch or something like that, that's great. But if you're only running ads because your content's not getting engagement, you have a content problem. And no amount of running ads, like I see ads all the time, but if the ad is bad, it's not going to make me click on anything. It's going to be a waste of the person's money. That's for one. But for two, with running ads, you can optimize your ads. And what times something people do a lot of times is they may not know who to show their ads to, especially music artists, right? Mm-hmm. If you're trying to reach new audiences and you don't know what regions are going to like your music, you would start really broad, and you would start from the ages of maybe 17 or whatever to 60. And then you'll put a small amount of money, like $5 a day, in these ads and run it everywhere in the US. So hold on, Winter, get please out of here with that. Winter, I'm going to take the iPad if you don't get out of here with that. Hold on.
No.
Please, turn it down or leave.
Turn it down.
Oh my gosh. Anyways,
it wouldn't be alive if Winter wasn't in it.
It really wouldn't be. It really wouldn't be. But like I was saying, because I'm not an ad expert, but I have paid somebody who is to teach me how to run a campaign for ads. But how I was taught is you start with the widest demographic within like the US, Canada, UK, like English speaking countries, and then run $5 a day for like a week and see who's interacting with the ad the most. Then you're going to turn off maybe other locations and you're going to put more money into that region, and you start narrowing it down as you see who's interacting with the ads. So with running ads, that's a little bit different, but there are some factors that you can add in terms of, like with music, you would say like who are some other similar artists that they would be fans of that you can click and put as an interest on, like for Facebook ads. If you're a TV show, you might be able to pick other TV shows. You can even pick like political interests, things like that. So you would be able to put those things, but in general with ads, you should be paying attention to who is interacting with your ads, and then redirecting, like narrowing down your audience from there. But you should also be like A/B testing. So you would maybe try out like 2 pieces of the same content with different captions, see which one is working the best, and then turn off the other one. Or you might have a different clip from a video and see which one people respond to the best. So that's how you maximize your ads. But before you even run ads, you need to make sure that your content is good. If people don't like it organically, if more people see it, it's not gonna help. If the people who already follow you don't like the content, new people not gonna like the content either. The best way to test content, honestly, before you start spending ad money on it, is put it on TikTok. Because the way the TikTok algorithm works, you can go viral if you have no followers. So if you can't get views, if you can't even get views, let alone likes and comments on TikTok, you might not want to run ads on it.
So I like to be transparent, right? I like to be the guinea pig. And just piggybacking off the last live that we did when I talked about Enter the Void, I want to use that again today, as far as, because I did run ads for that, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe you can like break down from your point of view on how did I do with running the ads and who I wanted to target, who I thought was the target audience for Enter the Void, right? Mm-hmm. So you already know I did that event with Naughty Dreams, who has an adult novelty store. I had the massage therapist there, right? And it was the art of seduction, relaxation, and wellness. So in my mind, right, I'm thinking I want to target women because men don't have kinky parties.
Yeah,
Men, you know what I'm saying? They don't have parties where they're women adult toys, right? So I
yeah,
want to target women, because I always go back to what Pac says: men want what the women want. So focus
right.
on what the women want. And so my audience, and when I filled out the filter, when I put in the filter, I wanted women from 25 to 45 years old, Black women. I targeted
Right.
Black women
Okay.
that lived, because the event was in Inglewood. So I targeted people that lived in the Crenshaw district, Inglewood, Hawthorne, Ladera, because those are the Black meccas where you
Yeah.
have Black people at, right? And then I also, to be more specific, my sister's a single mom. My mom was a single mom. I know single moms need a getaway sometimes. So
Yeah.
I typed in single mothers, right? And
Hmm.
then I also typed in single women, because I know that single women need a getaway, you
But
know, from
what platform were you using that lets you type in single moms or single women?
Instagram.
Were you using the Instagram platform or you used the Facebook ad suite?
I guess it was the Facebook ad suite
Did you do it on the computer or did you do it on the phone?
on the phone.
Okay, so it's probably Instagram.
Okay.
Facebook allows you to get a lot more specific.
Okay.
But
So
with that, go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
That
I
was
was
that
gonna
was
say
that
with
was
that, I
uh
would have widened that to maybe 30 miles out, because if this is somebody who doesn't get out much, they might drive, or maybe not 30 miles, 15, 20 miles. They might drive if this is an event that they're really interested in. But I would even say like too, like I would say just women, period, because even if you're in a relationship or not, like single or not, like there's a lot of women who are at home with their husbands that still like to go out and have a girls' night out. If it's marketed as a ladies' event versus as like a mixing mingling event, you know what I mean?
mhm.
Um, so I would say you could have included any women with, but I think that age range was good. But continue. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And so it was, and I wanted any women, and this is where like from our conversations, our personal conversations, from
Yeah.
me learning about target audience, I wanted any and every woman to come,
Yeah.
but I wanted to focus on a specific woman.
Okay.
And then if other women came in after then, that would have been the cherry on top,
Okay.
right? So while I was there, and while I was like listening to the conversations at the event, I saw a lot of women, like to your point, with they homegirls.
Right.
No men. There were
Yeah.
men at the event, but a lot of women didn't come with men.
Yeah. If I'm coming to an event that I know that they're going to be selling sex toys, I'm not bringing a man. Like, I don't know, because it's not. It's just like that's just weird. I don't know. To me, it just seems like it'd be kind of awkward. Like that's definitely like I think about like the sex toy parties. Like that's something that it's like a girls' night. Like you guys, you would feel more comfortable looking at these toys on a table if there's not men that are looking over your shoulder, sexualizing you, imagining you using them or something.
And to that point, that's a good point.
Right.
But it was more to it than just the adult toys. It
Yeah.
was it was there was a performance. There were also, it was an open bar. We had art and a live painting. So like I said, like my target audience was 25 to 45 Black female, specifically single mother, single woman, not in a relationship, that lived around Inglewood. So Crenshaw District,
Yeah.
Ladera, Hawthorne. And through that, there was some Latinas that came through, and
Yeah.
it was single dudes that came through, but it was predominantly single women
Yeah.
that came with their homegirls. And so like just from hearing all that, were there any things, as far as like me running that ad and running it specifically for that, was there anything better that I probably could have done with targeting the audience for that event?
Um. Again, I think that the targeting, the way that the content is made is more important than the targets put on the ad.
Okay.
Um, because again, you could target whoever you want, but if the content isn't speaking to that audience as well, then it doesn't matter who you show it to. But I know, like, we went over in the last live, like, you know, you had good content. So I don't think content is an issue. But again, when you're looking at ads, like, you might have a 30-second clip that you might put on Instagram that your followers are going to watch. But when you're running an ad and you're showing this to people who aren't familiar with you, you want that clip to start at the most eye-catching, oh my gosh, like thumb stopping, I'm going to stop scrolling and watch this moment. For one. So
I didn't do that. That was
yeah.
the knowledge that I was lacking when running that ad.
And so that's where too, like with running ads, like you'll have like A/B testing. So you might pick 2 different parts of the video to start at to test your ads and see which clip works the best. For example, I did an ad for somebody who had a music video, and there was like a clip where it's like a girl, and I think she's like in a bra or something, and you're going to be able to look and see the people who clicked on that ad the most are going to be men. Like you can greatly influence who clicks on your ads by what part of the content you show as well. And you also want to look at like how long of the ad are the people who are watching it, how long of it are they watching, that shows are they even seeing the rest of it, is the content piece engaging. But the best way to really be able to tell if your ads are effective is to look at the data and see how high like is the cost per click. The cheaper your cost per clicks are, the better the ad is. And the reason why is because your clicks cost more when Facebook has to work harder to get people to interact with it, when they have to work harder to get people to like it. When the ad is performing really well, that cost per click is going to be low. Also, if you're running ads, was the objective to get people to go to a website? Was it to get them to DM? Was it just to get them to go to the page?
Let me speak on it. Was to go to the Eventbrite.
Okay. So you're gonna be able to tell if the ad was effective by the conversion rate of how many people clicked.
And so me being ignorant to ads back then, right?
Yeah.
And listening to what you're saying now, I'm not looking at the data really like that. I'm only looking at the website clicks, which is the Eventbrite button that we have for people to tap and go to. Yeah. And tickets were sold, but instead of diving into that data, what was I looking at? As somebody ignorant to running ads to the first time, I was just looking at the amount of views that it was getting. Yeah. And so this is a good teaching moment for everybody that's in here. Is for me now looking back is that I'm looking at the views and getting happy of the views that it's getting instead of the data that I should really be focused on that would have helped me look at and narrow down my audience and find a better target audience and run a more effective ad like Whitney is talking about.
Right. Because otherwise, like views are cool, but if you're running the ad, like, that's why I say also, like, whenever I'm working with somebody on a social media strategy, which is going to be very similar to like an ad campaign strategy, is going to be, what is the goal? Is the goal just more visibility? Is the goal to get people to join your email list? Is the goal to get followers? Is the goal to get people to buy something? Those different goals are going to determine what the content looks like. And if you're running ads, that's how you're going to be able to tell if the campaign was successful, is if that goal was achieved or not, right? Because otherwise you could be getting views, but if you're running ads to get people to buy tickets and you're just getting views, then maybe the ad, like, I mean, if people are buying tickets, you know what I mean? Like, that's the big goal, but you also don't know, like, for example, with the content marketing community, right? Like, when we have like the email sign up sheet, we have people put where they heard about it, right? Is it a referral, like word of mouth, Twitter, Instagram, whatever? Google is an option. We were surprised that we had some people who put Google, don't even know how. I guess, like, SEO works, right? But most of the people who signed up for the email list came from Twitter. And so while we had a marketing plan of like, okay, we're going to do this many Instagram lives, we're going to do this many Twitter spaces to promote the community. Well, if most of the people who are signing up for the email list are coming from Twitter, we're going to focus more of our marketing efforts on Twitter because the conversion rate is better there. So it's the same thing with like running ads. If you're selling tickets, that's great. But if the ads aren't helping you sell those tickets, you can save that money and maybe put it somewhere else or not even have to spend it. You know what I mean? So
I want to give one more example of like how not understanding your target audience can affect. And this is from, I'm gonna use another transparent situation where recent. Oh
I
yeah,
want
go
to
ahead.
say really quick too before you get into it. If anybody in here has any questions about finding your target audience, how to find it, running ads, because we're on the ads topic, or social media strategy or anything like that, feel free to add your questions in the comment box or with the question feature and we'll get to it. But go ahead.
So for everybody in here, I'm the brand manager for Chef Junie Entertainment. He has a show called In the Kitchen where he's cooking high class, luxurious meals and while interviewing guests at the same time. And recently we were in the presence of somebody who's big in the city, big behind the scenes, has his hands in a lot of things. His name is Salis Money. And we were talking about the next level and like how do we go about getting sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
And the very next question that he asked us was, well, what type of sponsors do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't even answer that immediately. And so he was like, so you guys can't even ask if you're ready for sponsorship if you can't even answer the question, what type of sponsorship do you want? Which led me to think about sponsorship and how like while Junie's cooking, and this is an example of a sponsorship that wouldn't make any sense on his show, right? While he's cooking, you can't see his feet. So if we wanted to get a sponsorship from a shoe company,
Right.
that wouldn't make any sense, right? How is the audience gonna look and see his shoes? Does our audience even care about shoes?
Right.
You know, so and even though it's a cooking show, doesn't necessarily mean that your audience is gonna care about cutlery. What is, am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Knives,
Yeah.
you know, pots and pans. They might like the way Junie gets his hair braided because he gets his hair braided, and a lot of the comments could be like, "Oh, I like his hair braided. I like the who's his braider." So maybe he has a beauty salon sponsor it because so many people are inquiring about his hair. But it's like if you have a, you know, this is like for people that are YouTubers, if you don't know your audience, you don't know what the people are looking at you for, you may take a sponsorship from someone that might offend your audience. And now it might drive them away.
Right. Or that just isn't even in line. Yeah, isn't in line with your brand. So yeah, offend your audience. Another thing too with sponsorships is yeah, you need to know what type of sponsorships you want, but knowing who your audience is going to be, when you're pitching brands for sponsorships, you want to be able to go to them and say like, you know, we got this many views. This is the type of people who watch our show. This is why, you know, like you want to make it, you want to get sponsorships from brands who can benefit from your audience. So yes, you need to know who your audience is, and data can help a lot with that. For example, I work with Dregs One. He has gone super crazy viral with his History of the Bay series, which was like history of legendary Bay Area rappers. And then he also does like history of legendary graffiti artists from the Bay. And so with looking for sponsorships, like if he has an audience that is really into graffiti, well, I was like, we should try to get sponsorships from spray paint companies and the companies who make these things, because the people who are interested in graffiti are probably going out and doing graffiti too, right? So things like that.
Not promoting graffiti though.
Well, graffiti is an art form. There's a way
Yeah.
to do it legally if you're doing it with permission in a controlled area. So,
Right.
you know, Dregs is legally very smart. So, you know, he definitely also puts out that message of, you know, like, this is the risk, and, you know, don't do this or whatever. But being able to say, like, you know, this is what my audience is interested in. So like Bay Area clothing brands, not just clothing brands based in the Bay, but a clothing brand that highlights the Bay in their designs, for example, would be a great brand. He has a lot of different San Francisco design hats, and the people in the comments are always asking about his hats. So he would be able to take that and be able to go to a brand and say, like, people, it's not just I wear hats. It's not just my audience likes hats. It's I can show you my audience is inquiring about my hats. So they're paying attention to my hats. So it's that type of information when you're looking for brand sponsorships. Email list is always something that you can leverage.
So real quick, right?
Yeah.
Just like I like to be in the transparency. I want you to tell, you know, that everybody that's in here right now, how you know, targeted your audience for the community that you just created, because you guys did, you and Tyler did a great job of where to actually to speak to your audience on the specific platforms.
Yeah, and I'll say I got even better at defining I kind of know who my target audience is, but working with Tyler, she pushes me to be even more specific with my goals. Like, for example, she's like, what are your goals for the first 90 days? And she's like, I think that we could get, like, our goal is to get this many subscribers, generate this much revenue in the first 90 days, get this many email subscribers. She's specific down to, like, trying to get at least, like, 10% of her email list to become subscribers, looking at those types of numbers. And so with looking at, like, who is the target audience for the community, because we have information and services. My daughter gonna stand right in front of me and just be dancing around. She's always right here. But where we have services and information that benefits music artists, small businesses, and influencers, her specific target audience is mostly small businesses. That's mostly who she works with, where I tend to attract a lot of music artists, more than small businesses. And so we're like, okay, our target audience is creators, businesses, influencers, music artists who have less than 20,000 followers. If you have more than 20,000 followers, it's not that you don't need help anymore, but you're at a different level where you need a different type of help. You might specifically need more help on how to monetize your audience, how to get brand sponsorships. Like when I worked with Dregs from the ground up, from him having a very small social media following to helping him go viral and blow up. And then once he grew his audience, the conversations that we had changed as far as what's next. How can I monetize my audience now? You know, how can I get brand partnerships? And if he wants brand partnerships, well, that's where the podcast came, because podcast is a better place for sponsorships. You know, more money, more sponsorships than TikTok, right? So when you get to a certain level of following, you need a different type of help. Maybe you need more of a manager. Then you need help with your content strategy. Like Dregs, I don't really have to help him with his content strategy too much. I help him now with his podcast in terms of how he can still make TikTok content and stay, like, because most of the stuff he was doing on TikTok, he's doing in long form on YouTube now. So I'll help him with like ways that he can stay active on TikTok to promote the podcast. Now he's in a different space. But with the community, like where our target audience is people who have like no more than 20, maybe even less than 10,000 followers on social media, who are still learning how to grow their audience. They maybe don't know like how to use TikTok. Maybe they're on one platform, but they don't know how to be on another platform. So with that being said, when we're writing our Twitter threads and we're coming up with the topics for our Twitter spaces, we want to have topics that those people need help with. So when we do our Twitter spaces, we're doing Twitter spaces based on how to create a social media strategy for a beginner from square one, right? Because the people who are the ideal audience for the community or the ideal community members, that's where they are with their content journey. So in knowing who you're targeting, so with that being said, it could be a music artist, it could be, it could be an influencer or somebody who's aspiring to be an influencer, somebody who, is a small business and they're trying to use social media to sell their products or services, right? They might have a big business, but they don't know social media. So at that point, it's not so much about where you are with your career. It's more so where are you with your content understanding. So that's pretty much how we figured out who that target audience is. And that's how we aim our messages of what tweets we even use to introduce the community and get people to click. And Tyla is really good. She goes by the marketing bully, which really fits her. She finds it really humorous. It's like the friend who's like giving you tough love, like, girl, like, what are you doing? Like, that's not gonna work. Like, but it's coming from a place of offering a solution. Like, she'll say something like, you're doing this and this and that, like, it's not gonna work. But then she's like, here's a solution, like in the next tweet. So she's identifying their problems and speaking on their problems, but then she's following up with a solution. And that's why her conversion rate is so high from people who, she may not get a lot of people who like or retweet her tweets, but her tweets get a lot of clicks. And that's her goal more than the shares, because the goal is to get people on the email list more than just to get your Twitter account bigger.
Got you.
So that's why the first thing I always go over with new clients is, what are your goals specifically? Are you trying to, like, everybody, if you're a music artist, everybody says, I want more people to listen to my music. Of course, you want to be the biggest artist that you can. But where are you right now? Are you trying to build a fan base? Are you trying to get people to go to your shows? Are you trying to push a specific song? You know what I mean? Like, I have one artist who approached me about working with him, and he's got the blue check. He's working with big artists. He's got a big following, but he doesn't have a real relationship with his audience. So he came to me about helping him with content that can deepen his relationship with his listeners and turn listeners into actual fans, because all listeners are not fans, right? So for everybody, their goals are going to be different. And depending on what your goals are is going to determine what type of content you're making. And it's the same thing with running ads. You need to know, what are you trying to get people to do? And you need to make content designed to make people do that. Then once you know what your goal is, you got to know, who are you speaking to? With music artists, a lot of times too, this looks like, for me, with helping an artist figure out who their target audience is, I'm listening to their music. And it's like, what is your music about? Is your music about like your healing journey, or is your music about working at the strip club? Like, what your music is about is going to tell me who your target audience is. Or even though that could be the same person who's listening to both, but you're still at least speaking to that side of the person. So a lot of times.
So what do you think are some, let me see, like your top 3 things that somebody that's in this live, individuals in this live, that should take away from the importance of a target audience?
Your target audience is not always going to be who is already following you on social media. A lot of times people will say, they'll look at their their insights and they'll look at the statistics of their followers, and they'll say, well, I have a lot of men following me, so I'm going to make more content for men, right? Or vice versa. But like I said, if you're this, I had this happen with a female artist, right? But if you have a lot of men following you because of how you present yourself and how you look, right? But your music is speaking to women, and you want people to stream your music. I don't care how many men follow you. You got to start making content for the people you want to stream your music. If you're trying to get only fan subscribers, then you would want to make content for the men who are going to subscribe to your OnlyFans. But if your goal is to get people to stream your music, you need to make content that relates to those people, even if they're not the people who currently follow you. So the number
that was point number one, y'all.
Yeah,
the audience that you have right now
might
may
not be your target audience. And this is why people will sit there and they'll be huffing and puffing on social media all day talking about, man, y'all don't support me. Y'all won't like my stuff. You're on my story views, but you're not liking my posts. You're not, because they're not your target audience. They're just some people that follow you. So you got to make content for the people who you want to do these things, because the guy who followed you because he met you at the club because he thought he looked good might not be the person who's going to listen to your music, and you mad that he's not streaming your music. He was never going to. Why are you making content for him? You know?
Man. What's point number two?
Point number two is, if you are a personal brand, which like a music artist I would consider a personal brand, you don't have to necessarily find your target audience because you're not necessarily solving a problem. You just need to know, what are the qualities about you that are unique? What are the qualities about you that draw people to you? And you just need to make content that shows that. I've talked to music artists that their music is very raw and authentic, and in their real life, they're doing some really dope stuff for people, not on a grand scale, but like they really care about like helping out kids and acting as a mentor and things like that. But you would never know. And so all you have to do is make content that highlights what you want people to know about you. So if you're a personal brand or if you're a music artist, it's not about fabricating. You're not making up a target audience. You're just understanding what are the key qualities about yourself that make you you, and then making more content or making a marketing strategy that makes sure people know it about you. If you are a business and you're selling something, then your target audience is going to be whose problem am I solving with my service or my product. So it's two different ways of finding a target audience, because I've actually not had debates, but had a slight disagreement on at first glance of the importance of an artist knowing their target audience. But a lot of times, like, artists don't take the time to understand what makes them different than the next person, and they don't make content that highlights that. So if you look at Summer Walker, she's very into, you know, spirituality and like just the sound of her music and all of that. Like when she dropped a song that was like pop, and I think she said like the label made her put that out as her single, everybody was like, I was ready to cry to like her music. Like, this is not what they wanted from Summer Walker. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So those emotional qualities are the things that make her stand out and that draw people to her as an artist. So her content or her marketing or her rollout would focus on that side of her, right? So it's not creating something fake. I would never ask somebody to do that. It's just about figuring out what about you draws people to you.
Got you. And I want to just point out, like, before we ask if anybody has any questions, you guys have to understand that finding your target audience is going to take time. It's nothing that's going to happen overnight, and you have to be willing to do the work to find your target audience.
Unless you're a business. If you're a business, you should know who your target audience is before you go into business, before you spend any dollars in marketing, or before you spend any money in inventory. You need to know who you're selling to. So,
and unfortunately, especially for people that look like you and me,
yeah,
a lot of people opened up the shop before they got people to come in the shop.
And I did that myself out of necessity, because I was laid off from my job because of COVID. And so I was kind of forced into entrepreneurship by being resourceful. But I will say, even I had to still stop and pause at the beginning of this year. I did not make content trying to get clients because I didn't have a process in place for once I got them. I didn't have business processes. So I paused on marketing myself until I got that together. So unless it's something that you're doing out of necessity because you're trying to pay bills and you don't have any other income, you shouldn't start a business until you know who you're selling to, what the problem solves, until you have a plan. Save your time. Don't quit your day job. Don't invest in any inventory. You don't even know how much inventory you need if you don't know who you're selling to.
And the other thing is that it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm speaking from my mistakes. You know, a lot of stuff that I share, a lot of times even stuff that I tweet, I'll word it like it's for y'all, but it really be for me, or stuff that I realized.
Yeah, I do that.
And a lot of, like, Bobby, like, you know, because we talk all the time, and like stuff that I tell you, like, I'll tell you, like, this is something that I learned. And so, like, I don't be, if I take the time to tell you something, it's because I care. Because if I didn't care, I would just be sitting on the sidelines like, well, I hope that works out for them, and I'll save my energy for me and figuring out my own shit, you know? So if I take the time to say something, it's only because I actually care. But a lot of it is coming from mistakes that I've learned. And I've been very fortunate to have a lot of people who have given me chances and worked with me through figuring out how to run a business, and then also running into other business friends like Tyler, who have helped me and continue to help me step my business game up. But that being said, if you're a business, like if you are a personal brand, like a personality, like a radio personality, or, you know, like a hosting personality, an influencer type personality, if you are even like a podcast, or, you know, whatever, a music artist, it might take time to figure out who your target audience is, right? But if you're a business, it still might take you time, but you should not open up the doors on that business and invest any money into products until you know. Otherwise, you're just going to make a very expensive mistake. And that's okay too if you've already done that. But it's also okay to take a step and then pause and take some time to regroup. And Jayla said being teachable is a clutch asset. Yes.
Facts.
Absolutely. And Jayla, thank you so much for hanging out with us this whole time too. I love Jayla. I actually met, you want to talk about target audiences and knowing your audience, I met Jayla at a La Russell concert. And it just like, and come to find out we're both Sagittarius, but she's just so awesome. And I would just say, like, this is how you know his brand is really strong, because La Russell was like, if you go to one of my shows, you wouldn't know who my target audience is because everybody looks different. But a target audience isn't always about what somebody is or what they look like. A target audience can be based on values. And so, like, Jayla and I, we're in a completely different age demographic, right? Well, not completely different, but we're in a different age demographic. Like, we're at different stages of our life. We have a lot of similarities, but most of our similarities come down to our values and what is important to us and our character. And I would say that most people who are real Russell fans, yeah, culture. People who are real Russell fans might look different as night and day, but they have something in common, which is their value system. Yeah, me and Jayla, we got like almost about a 10-year age gap, and we met we met at a Russell concert, and we be talking to each other in his comments, everything. We gonna be at the next show together, but we became friends from meeting at one of his shows.
So look now, before what's up, Crystal? Hopped up in here super late. but one thing I want you to do, because what you're talking right now, what LaRussell did for you and Jayla was create community.
Right.
And right now you have a platform that is about community. So just how can these individuals get onto your platform?
Yes. So I started a platform called the Content Marketing Community, and I started it with a partner, Tyla. She's an email marketing specialist. What we do is I teach the social media side of things, social media content strategy. She teaches the email marketing strategy. So as I like to put it, I help you build your audience, and once you have your audience, now what do you do with it? That's where she helps. And so, we're calling you out. No, the first thing when Crystal popped up in here, what I heard was that Ray J post that he did for Crystal. Every time I hear her name too, that's what comes to my mind forever.
And before you go back, Crystal, you've been talked about twice in last live and this live.
No, for real. Sure has. Yes,
but keep on breaking down the community.
Yeah. But the link is in my bio. I need to update it. The link in my bio will take you to the wait list, which will take you to the email list. But I'm about to type the actual website, because since we have launched, it is open for people to subscribe. And anybody who's actually in the live, you can DM me and I'll send you a link to a free 3-day trial. There's 2 different types of memberships. There's like a standard membership, and there's a premium that's going to include all the courses and workshops that we include will only be available to those premium members. But not only are we teaching, it's not a one-sided like course-based platform. It's like our own private Facebook where people can post, they can get to know each other. We created spaces within the community for people to network based on what type of content creator you are, business, influencer, music artist, etc. It's a immersive, interactive way to learn about how to build a marketing strategy, all around marketing strategy, with other creators who are also at the same point in their marketing strategy journey as well.
Y'all need to be on that. Like, y'all, especially if you was on this live, you caught the beginning, the middle, the right now. You understand that like Whitney was being sincere and being hella transparent the last few minutes of this. Like, that's the type of love, that's the type of community that you can get. But I gotta go give my son a bath.
Okay.
So
I know my daughter's sitting right there waiting for me to get off live.
I gotta pop my collar.
Yes.
And then in maybe 2 weeks, me and Whitney will be back in here for y'all again. So I'm out of here like that there. Oh, boy.
Thank you for hanging out with us.